What's up, nerd family? Welcome once again to the Poindexter Lounge. My name is Enosh, aka Enosh Fett, and it is so good to have you with us today. Hey, if this is your first time to the lounge, just know this. The Poindexter Lounge is a place for nerds. That's right, it's a place for all of us to get together and talk about the things that we love, whether they be comic books, TV shows, movies, games, whatever, toys, everything and anything in between. That's what we do here on the channel. And so if that is you, you found the right place. And so if that's something you're interested in, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you could be a part of this community, because we truly are a community. We do live streams and we have fun and we know each other and we like to just be a big nerd family around here. So please join us, hit subscribe, and also hit that notifications bell so that you know when we put out new videos. Now today I want to talk about something because there's been a lot of talk this last week about Zack Snyder and his event over this last weekend. We did a video on it. Isaac and I here on the channel, we did a video about it, just talking about what it was and kind of reporting what it was. And so now I've kind of had a little bit of time to kind of break down what was in that, and some of the things that have been said, some of the things that were said in that. I've had a chance to watch the video a few times, and I'll put a link to it down in the description if you haven't seen it already. It's pretty lengthy. It's about an hour long, but there's a lot of really interesting things in there, and you really kind of get into the mind of Zack Snyder. Now here's some of my observations, and I think I'm going to kind of hit like both sides of this, so I'm sure there's going to be somebody mad at me out there. Just know this, that if you disagree with me, that's fine, and we can have a conversation about that. And I respect everybody's opinions when it comes to this kind of stuff. Everybody is passionate about stuff in different ways, and especially our superheroes and our fandom, right? The thing that we love, that's what we get really passionate about. And so I get that, and so I want you to know that I get that. But we may disagree on some points, and that's fine, but that's why we have a discussion. So if you have a counterpoint to what I'm saying, please leave that down in the description, or down in the comments, I should say, and let's have a talk about it. You can also follow us on social media. You can make a video and actually post it to our Facebook page or something, and let's have a conversation about it. And then join us in the live stream when we do live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and talk about it with me there. All right, and we can talk about it live. All right, that's the great part of this channel. This is as much your channel as it is mine. So these are some of the things I want to break down. First of all, I'm going to make the Zack Snyder fans mad a little bit, because I love Zack Snyder. I loved his vision for the DC movies, and I know that can be an unpopular opinion, but I think that he does get it. I think that he does understand these characters very well. I've said it time and time again, Man of Steel is the Superman movie that I wanted to see my entire life. A real and grounded Superman that was not just this fluff piece. Too many times I think Superman is just, he's just this big cheesy Boy Scout, and there's no substance to it. And as much as I love the Christopher Reeve movies, because that's my childhood and that's my youth, the reality is it wasn't always a relatable character in the fact that you could see yourself as that character. What I love about Henry Cavill's Superman is you could see yourself, right, as that character. And so what would happen if you were an alien and you came to Earth and you didn't feel that you connected with anybody, and you felt alienated from the rest of the world, and you didn't know whether or not you should use your powers, whether for good or any other reason, because of the struggle. And I get that. There were parts of it that, I didn't care for, like Pa Kent should always die of a heart attack, because that should be the whole point, that Clark can't do anything about it. It's out of his power. I didn't like the fact that he was killed by a tornado and that he just told him to stand there, because I believe Clark could have moved at super speed, saved him, nobody would have even known. But stuff like that, is fine with me. I loved Batman versus Superman. Yes, I love its serious tone. I will defend that movie till my dying day, because I love that movie. It's a great movie, and I don't know what else to say about it. But we're gonna get into some of those details here in just a second. I like Justice League. I wish that Zack would have been able to complete his version. And if there is a Snyder cut, and it seems like there may be some kind of version out there that Snyder did finish in some way, I would really like to see that, because I would like to see what his vision was complete. But obviously, he even said in this thing over the weekend that he did not film his version of it, that that they still had to tone it down even after, because they wrote it during Batman versus Superman, and because of the backlash against Batman versus Superman, they weren't able to really see their full vision come to pass between him and Chris Terrio. So, but here's the thing. I'm watching this video over the weekend, and Zack Snyder, usually he comes across really well, and I've been impressed with him over the years, where he's been able to communicate things going forward. And I don't know if it was just his frustration with everything that's happened, with the flack that he's taken over and over again for these movies, and for his choices in these movies. But is it just me, or he really didn't communicate very well? And I get it, like, look, everybody was cheering and going crazy, but he would say, something to the effect of, this movie, we did this, and like, man, you know what I'm saying, like, and everybody would just be like, yeah. And that's the fanboy thing, right? Is that anything that he says, people were going to respond in a positive way. So I get that, and I don't want to give kudos to something that I feel was kind of really not there. There were many things that he did not communicate well. Now, there were some things, boy, he made his point, and he did it, and I think that I've seen people harp on, like, the fact that, see, he's got me doing it, I'm saying like now, when he was talking about Batman killing, for example. I think he's just so frustrated and over that, people giving him a hard time over Batman killing, that's the way he could communicate it. And, and he used some expletives and said, look, man, I'm over it, like, get over it. Batman kills. And so here's my take on that. I understand why people want a Batman that doesn't kill. I get it. I respect it. But for me, personally, and I think a lot of other people, we don't see Batman that way. And I don't see this particular Batman. I see younger Batman. I see fresh, newer Batman who's still finding his way in the world, like with this idealistic, like, I don't have to kill kind of mentality. But the Batman portrayed in Batman versus Superman and beyond, it's a weathered Batman, and they've said that over and over again. This was a Batman who's seen some stuff. He's been through some stuff, through the loss of Robin, through just watching as villains just completely questioning himself whether or not he's had any kind of positive effect. He says that to Alfred, something to the effect of, like, what good are we doing? Like, if I do anything in my life, this is what it's got to be, because he feels that he needs to protect the planet now from Superman, that if Superman were to ever go evil, he doesn't understand Superman, he doesn't know his motivation, he hasn't had a conversation with him, and so, so he's angry about that. And so he's so messed up that, yeah, this Batman would kill. And I've heard other people talk about it, and I have to agree that when you put Batman or any character in the place of having to fight off the kind of people and the kind of situations that he has to fight off. I mean, people talk about the warehouse scene in Batman versus Superman, where, he kills all these people. I can't believe he kills all these people. Let's talk reality. If you're in a fight with 30 people, you're going to have to use some excessive force. And too many times in the comics and in other media where Batman, he won't kill, but he'll come down on somebody right into their chest and their sternum, break all their ribs and stuff, and puncture. And I heard John Campea talk about this, and I have to fully agree, because, like, little thought bubble will be, ruptured spleen, 7 broken ribs, blah, blah, blah. He'll be in traction for a year. No, he would be dead. It's just the thing. You know, Batman will flip the cars of villains and, you know, explode things that they're in or whatever, and they just walk away. Oh, but, you know, oh, they'll be in the hospital for a long time. They'll be out of commission. No, in real life, they would be dead. And that's the reality. So we can put it any way we want to, but he literally beats criminals within an inch of their life, and we act like he's got some moral code, right? That he knows. Like there's a Robot Chicken sketch where he's beating up the Joker, and he's like one more punch and you would die, but I'm not gonna do that one last punch. Like, come on. You can't calculate that kind of stuff, you know? And that's the joke in the Robot Chicken sketch, is that Batman, to do the things that Batman actually does in the comics that nobody seems to have a problem with, he would be killing people all the time. People die when that kind of stuff happens. They don't just go to the hospital and get better. They die. And so I don't see that when he meets excessive force with excessive lethal force, because you have to. He's a ninja. I mean, just like in Batman Begins, you know, he refuses to kill the guy, but then he ends up blowing up the entire monastery and everything with Ra's al Ghul, and all these people die anyways, and nobody says anything about that. But he wouldn't kill. He just did. He's responsible for all those deaths. And I found it interesting. I've had some conversations with people online, and nobody wants to talk about what happened in the Tim Burton movies. You know, I mean, we got the scene where Batman grabs the one guy in the bell tower with his legs and slams him into the bell, and then he falls and plummets to his death. You know, the Joker plummets to his death because Batman grapples him and ties him there. What did you think was going to happen? I mean, he's got a helicopter attached to one side, and his leg is attached to a gargoyle. You think he's going to be able to hold on? I mean, so it may be, you could say it's indirect, but Batman knows what he's doing. He's the world's greatest detective. Come on. I mean, he's not stupid. And so you got that. I mean, in Batman Returns, he shoves a bomb down a guy's pants and pushes him, you know, into a manhole, and then smiles about it when he blows up. But people didn't complain about all that stuff. Now all of a sudden, with Zack Snyder shows a real world situation where Batman is having to fight off all these criminals, all of a sudden Zack Snyder does, oh, you don't know the material and it's horrible. And I literally had a friend who would not go see Batman versus Superman because he knew and heard that Batman killed in the movie. And people say, well, you know, he never uses a gun or whatever. Batman's always had guns and all kinds of things in the Batmobile and in other, you know, things that he has, the Batwing, whatever. So I don't understand why all of a sudden we're harping on Zack Snyder specifically for these things. I respect it. If you feel that Batman shouldn't kill, that's fine. But then I just asked the question, and I would love to hear your opinions and your thoughts on this. I respect your opinion, but why isn't anybody harping on those other things, right? Nobody's calling to task any of those other things. They're just singling out Zack Snyder like he's the one who came up with this idea that Batman could kill. I don't buy that. I don't get that. You know what? I think that DC is darker than other comic universes, you know, and I think that there's deeper stories there, and I think that people don't understand some of those stories, and people are quick to judge DC on these kind of fluffy levels instead of actually seeing what it is. And doing a little bit of research and finding out why these things are the way they are, and that, you know what, it's a little more complex than your average story. There's so many decades of rich storytelling there, and you know what, I get it. Batman should have that code, but it's the same thing with Superman. People, you know, Superman doesn't. He tries not to kill people, but he's used lethal force many times in the comics over the years, and he's killed Zod many times, and people harped on Zack Snyder like he created that. You know, like, oh, he shouldn't have snapped his neck. He did what he had to do. It's his first day on the job as Superman. And that's what people don't understand, I think, about the DC universe, is that we're meeting these characters in different places in their careers. We're meeting Superman literally right as he starts, and we're meeting Batman towards the end of his career. So it's not like they came at the same time and they're super friends and they're buddies and they've, you know, been around at the same time. They came in at different points in the game. And so they're going to be at different stages in their life. And part of the arc is that Superman becomes Superman in this symbol of good and hope and everything that he's supposed to be. And it changes Batman and helps Batman realize the error of his ways. I find it a lot more interesting when our superheroes have flaws that we can learn from, that we can actually put ourselves into those situations with them and think, man, what is the moral choice here? If our superheroes just always make the right choice and just always do the right thing without, you know, any concern for what else could happen, and no concern for consequences, right? And then it just always will work out. That's the problem I have with that, is that, oh, it'll just always work out. That's not the real world, though. And I get it. Some people don't watch these movies for the real world, and they don't watch them. They want to suspend disbelief, and they want to be in their own world. And I appreciate that as well. But it kind of takes me out when I think, well, you're making a decision now, a important decision based on life and death, and it really has no consequence for you. And that's something that I haven't understood, like especially about Superman, because over the years people have panned on the Christopher Reeve Superman for so long about how it's not realistic, he's overpowered, nobody can beat him, he just always makes the right choice, he's not troubled. And then we get a Superman that we get those characteristics where he has to make hard decisions and he's troubled and he's really Clark, you know, the Clark is the real person and Superman is the disguise, and we get that. And then people complain about that. It's interesting to me. But I encourage you, if you're a DC fan, or if you're just wondering what in the world is going on with Zack Snyder's head, watch the video. Like I said, the link is down in the description. My problem is that I didn't think Zack Snyder in some instances put out their things in a clear way. In this, and then also I was kind of disappointed with the fact that a lot of the people asking questions didn't ask the real questions that fans want to know. Now I've heard from people who said they've been there or had friends who were there, that basically there were a lot of film students there, and it wasn't always it's weird because it's double, right? Because I hear all these people, like they sound like fanboys to me, like they're clapping at every little thing that he says about Batman versus Superman, yet I'm being told that they're just kind of film students that didn't have a lot of good questions. And then also I'm hearing, and I don't like this idea either, that there was apparently a woman who was allowing more girls to ask questions, more women to ask questions, and that's fine. Like, what's the problem with that? I don't see how that is, but they're kind of blaming that on that too. I've seen all kinds of stuff online for it. Look, if you all have watched my channel, you know my wife Tifftastic, and she loves this stuff just as much. So I don't think that there's anything that, like, just because there were females asking questions that we didn't get the hard questions. I just think that people just didn't ask the right questions and to the point, because somebody in that panel should have asked, hey, is there a Snyder cut? Straight up, right? And I know there's these little videos, you know, going around where he mentions this and that, but I would have really liked to have just seen that and seen a discussion about that. But I think that one of two things: either there is a Snyder cut and he can't talk about it, or there isn't and he can't talk about it, right? And so he just kind of puts out these vague things. In the best scenario, Zack Snyder would have been able to complete his thoughts and his ideas and put them into film, right? And we would have had those movies, and actually by this point they would have been done, and DC would have been able to move on to the next phase, and they could have moved on without Zack Snyder and allowed him to complete his vision. Unfortunately, that's not what we got. We got kind of a jumbled mess with Joss Whedon, and it's all mixed up, and now finally we're moving forward. And Shazam is great. Aquaman was awesome. Shazam is tremendous. Go see Shazam. If you didn't get a chance to go see it at the preview, go see it the day it comes out. We're going to see it probably 2 or 3 times. It's that good. And then, of course, also Wonder Woman was great. And so we got a new Wonder Woman coming out, you know. So I think there's positive days ahead for DC. But, you know, DC makes you think, right? And unfortunately, Warner Brothers has gotten in the way a lot of that and kind of complicated things. So I'm hoping that we're seeing better days for DC films, and that we continue on this trend. And I just hope, against all hope, that Henry Cavill is still in. That's all I'll say about that. All right, guys, it's been fun talking with you. Hey, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section, all right? I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your opinions and your thoughts on these things. That's what the channel is all about, all right? So leave your comments down in the comment section. Don't forget, this month we have a Shazam action figure giveaway. So make sure to put down there, you gotta subscribe to the channel, hit notifications, and then just go ahead and put in the comment section that you are interested in the action figure. All right. Until next time, my name is Enosh, aka Enosh Fett, saying look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Zack Snyder. That's kind of strange. All right. Until next time. Bye-bye. So if you've made it this far into the video, thanks so much. We're so glad to have you here. Please make sure to like this video, hit subscribe, and as always, hit the notifications bell so that you know when we put out new videos, which is like all the time. Thanks for coming along for the ride. We hope you're here for more.